I remember the first time I saw the house systems when I was learning astrology. There were so many different significations for each of the 12 houses. It was really overwhelming at times, and I'm sure for a lot of you that have gotten into your astrology journey, the 12 house system with all of those significations can be really daunting, especially in the beginning. So this video is less about going through each significations of each house and more so a pattern that I used to trigger keywords for each house. And it was more so a memorization tool, and it helped me grasp the concept of the houses a lot quicker. So we're going to think of the wheel almost as a clock. We're going to start here and we're going to go counterclockwise from the first house to the 12th, and we're going to grow a story. So here's where the story starts. The first house, that is your first house of self, that represents your physical body. The second house is how you support that body, so finances, food, whatever. The third house is how you make that body comfortable. It's short-term travel, creature comforts, etc. The fourth house is the foundation that you're creating around that body. It's your home life, early childhood, early schooling. The fifth house is the house of creativity and creation. So after you've built that foundation around your body, how are you going to express yourself creatively in that space? The sixth house I liken to the house of responsibility. It's the house of health issues, pets, coworkers. Think of it as responsibility after creation and after you create your foundation. So you see how as we go from the first to the sixth, we're creating this story, and that can help you trigger the other significations of the houses as you're going through this story in your head. So the southern hemisphere is internal. The upper hemisphere is external. So as we move into the seventh house, which is above the descendant, we're adding other people. So seventh house is the house of relationships. So after you've created your foundation, you're expressing yourself creatively, you're taking on responsibilities. Now, how do you interact with other people? The eighth house is what I like to call the house of other people's shit. So it's like you've made friends, your friends have baggage. It's gonna show up in the eighth house. It's also the house of like shared finances. But again, this is just like a memorization tool. This story, when you get to the eighth house and you think, okay, so I've made relationships with other people and now I'm sharing their baggage, you can just liken that to, that's also shared finances, inheritances, things like that. It's going to trigger those other keywords for you. The ninth house is a house of higher education and travel. So you can think, okay, I've made these relationships, I'm really expanding out into the world. Where am I going to go from here? So the ninth house is where you're going to be learning. You're going to be learning more about the world here. The 10th house is how you're going to apply that learning. So the 10th house is likened to career. It's the most visible point in the chart. You can think of it in this storyline. After I've learned, how am I going to apply that? Because the 10th house is also the most visible part of the chart. It's how people know you, what you're best known for. The 11th house is the house of community. In the storyline we're creating here, we can think the community around our job, or the community around what we're best known for. Again, that's not the exact signification of the 11th house, and there are even more significations of the 11th house. But in this storyline, and I don't know how many times I can reiterate this, in this storyline we're creating, this is just a learning tool. And then the 12th house is a house of mental health. So in this storyline, this learning tool, at least in my journey, and I feel like in a lot of other people's journey, mental health is kind of the thing that we think of last, or that we have come to last. I know it took me a little while after I really came into myself to consider my mental health in my day-to-day. Again, that is not the only signification of the 12th house. But when you get to that point in this storyline that we are creating, that can trigger the other significations for you of, okay, mental health, asylums, prisons, things like that. The 12th house is not the prettiest house. But anyway, there you have it. That is how I memorize the significations of the 12th house. I use that kind of storyline to just trigger the other keywords that brought up the other significations of the houses. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope this helped, and good luck on your astrology journey.